So, hello, we have David Brier with us, who is one of the most awarded branding experts, and he will guide us through why falling out of love with your brand will breathe life back into your company. Hello, David.
Hello, Cleo, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
I have a first question for you. How relevant is branding now, specifically during tough times where businesses are really suffering from a lot of other things? Why is branding still so relevant?
To understand that, you need to understand why is branding relevant during good times, right? So the role of branding is what? The role of branding is to differentiate a product, a service, an event from others, right? It's so that it does not blend in. So it doesn't just become blah, 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 and add to the noise. So if we understand that branding is to differentiate, then there's the flip side, which is, okay, now people are, some industries are incredibly impacted where we're not going to do that and they have to do a pivot. But that's, well, I'm sure we'll talk about that. But with regard to right now, people are possibly making choices based on maybe what's cheaper. Okay, that might be a factor that's now more in the forefront than it has been in the past. And that makes branding even more vital because people are going to buy on what they feel is going to provide them the greatest value. If your service sounds similar or is indistinguishable from others, people will choose the cheaper. Companies will choose the cheaper. Okay, so the importance of distinguishing your brand, which is branding, it is the art of differentiation. 4 words, the art of differentiation. If you get that and really understand that and take that to your heart, then you will know that it's as important as turning the lights on. It's as important as answering your phone. It's as important as being responsive and proactive when it comes to servicing customers.
Tell us, how does this situation benefit brands instead of just destroying them, as we might tend to believe? What happens right now with brands?
The current situation is challenging for many. Some companies are exploding because of the categories that they're in and they don't even know how to keep up. There aren't enough hours in the day. And then others, but the interesting thing is that the others that are struggling also feel that there aren't enough hours in the day because they're not getting enough done. They're not making enough sales. They're losing their relevance. Right now, it's important to, yes, have a brand that's clear, that's memorable, that's just not sort of a commodity. But at the same time, you don't want to be what I would call stupidly opportunistic. There are some brands that are literally, they're just kind of plowing along like nothing's changed. And that to me, what people are seeing is that company is tone deaf. That company doesn't get me as a potential customer or client, right? So that's a very, very, very important part.
In this case, how would you separate being in love with your brand versus the need to fall out of love with it? Tell us a little bit about this idea.
Brands that are built on a business model, which is a transaction-based model, are very shallow. They don't connect us on any other level. It's just like, oh, okay, blah, 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 and it's just a transaction. But the ones that connect to us, really the soul of us, that's really important. Passion is necessary to get there. But that's where companies get screwed up. They get so intoxicated. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid. They're freaking drunk on their own Kool-Aid, right? And they're so impassioned. It's kind of like you don't marry your infatuation, okay? You might have an infatuation. You might have a little more than an infatuation. You might go, hey, maybe let's go on a date or two. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get married and have kids, okay? So the thing about this is you want to separate out and realize, okay, yes, we have passion, but passion is not a strategy. Passion is not your brand. You need to fall out of love. And that's what I mean when I say falling out of love with your brand. You need to have what I call passionate impartiality. You need to be, we love what we do, but if this sucker is, it's kind of like the parent that says, isn't my child gorgeous? And you look at the kid and you go, that is the ugliest baby I've ever seen. Whoa. Don't be so blinded by love with your product or your service. You cannot go there. You need to fall out of love with your brand and go, okay, Is there something broken? Is there something ugly? Is there something that is absolutely below standard of where we need to be? Are we making our clients and customers work harder to get from point A to point B? Why is it that Amazon does so well? Because you and I, we can go to Amazon, we can find what the hell we want. We see, oh, it's got, you know, high percentage of 4 and 5 stars, and I can now press one click and I can be in and out of there in 30 freaking seconds, get back to whatever else is distracting me right now. That's the thing about, you need to fall out of love with your brand. You need to basically go, is it crap? And if it's crap, fix it. Or if it's good, don't do a disservice that it'll sell itself. Doesn't happen. That's a Hollywood script. That's not the real world.
So instead of believing that it sells itself, what do you think we should be thinking as regards to what it is we're selling?
Well, it has that all has to do with the factor of expectations.
Okay.
Expectations. We need to look, and expectations are always changing in any industry, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's a big cultural shift or whether all of a sudden someone's introduced a brand new something in our category, which changes everything, right? Good example that everyone seems to know. You know the Dyson vacuum cleaners?
Yes.
Right. For like 50, 60 years, nothing had changed in the vacuum cleaner industry. All of a sudden, Dyson, and literally, not everybody knows this, he made 5,000 prototypes. That's what I call a great example of not being, you got to fall out of love. He fell out of love 5,000 times before he got it right. Okay, so the thing is that he did 5,000 prototypes to come out, and what did he use? He used design, he used this turbine technology, he had clear, wildly colored canisters so you could see it doing its thing while you were cleaning it. The design was different, the colors were different, the materials were different, and it was so unlike anything that had come before. And all of a sudden, everything else became the old way of vacuum cleaning.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Now we had the new standard. So that's the thing. You've got to be able to pivot. You've got to be able to evaluate. You've got to be able to have enough self-awareness as a brand to go, are we getting lazy? Are we going on autopilot? Are we just doing things the same way we've done them for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because it's always worked? That's not a standard, right? You need to I always challenge every time with every client, with every brand, why are you doing that? And if there's a great answer, I'm like, awesome, badass. And if it's a stupid answer, I use a few other words, which we won't incorporate here, but you can imagine.
Yes, I can. Okay, so right now, I don't think there is any industry in the world or any business that isn't actually feeling the shock. Okay, so right now, it's not about whether we think we should think differently. Everybody has to think differently. How much do you think, first of all, the consumer habits will change? How do you think, how much will we have new normal that is being, the new thing? And how do you think this will impact, specifically here, we're talking about the traveling and event industry, an industry that has suffered a lot since the very beginning. So
Completely.
How much do you think that the attitudes are going to be shifting?
I see the attitudes shifting a lot. I see every business is going to literally have to take apart the bits and pieces that were clumped together. So for example, let's take a restaurant. You have a restaurant. It's like, hey, we seat X amount of people and we turn tables every hour and 20 minutes. And blah, 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 blah. So they can calculate where's the profit, where's the this, where's that, and the amount of revenue that you're going to generate. Now, if that's their model, they're screwed right now. But the smart ones have done this. They're going to wait a second. We still have the ability to produce food. Our current model was we did it so that we delivered to our location, which is our restaurant. Well, why can't you deliver to a car that loves your food, but is willing to just pull up and now take it home? Okay, so we need to literally start pulling apart the pieces that were integral. A great example was there's a movie theater chain where we are in the middle of America, in the Midwest. They came up with this bright idea. What are movie theaters known for? Popcorn. And anybody that knows the movie industry, where do the movie theaters make their money? The concession stands. They don't make it from the movie theater attendants. They make it from the concession stands. So you buy your soda, you buy your Twizzlers, you buy your popcorn, you buy your Milk Duds, whatever the hell crap you buy, right? So the thing is, what they did is they actually made it so they took popcorn. They said, hey, we will make popcorn for you. You get our delicious popcorn. And you can, if you want, you can buy gift coupons for future performances. So they had a price point for that, and you would get a free bag of popcorn. If you didn't want to buy the gift coupon, the gift card, you could just buy the popcorn and bring it home and watch it while watching Netflix. So all of a sudden they turned what was clumped together, they sifted it out. And I would say the same thing very much for the travel and event space is that's been clumped together. Travel was a means to get to someplace, unless you were going for vacation, in which case it was destination. But you have travel, you have destinations, you have events. Three things clumped into one.
Yes.
Now they need to be pulled apart because travel right now is not an opportunity as much as it is a barrier. But an event still has value. So I have companies that I know that are absolutely, they're taking events, they're making them virtual, and they're upping their game. And the thing that I would say that's vitally important that too many companies forget, just imagine what if right now, and I only say this because I see too many companies in the mode of waiting. They're waiting for things to get back to normal.
Absolutely.
Imagine right now, this is not going to change for the next 10 years. What would you do? That's the challenge I would give everybody right now. Imagine this is not going to change for the next 10 years. Now you may freak out and go, who the hell invited this guy to the party, right? Yes. It's like Cleo, next time pick someone better. This guy's out of his mind, right? They may be saying that. Because I know this is valuable and therapeutic because you need to really look at it. You need to look at it and go, what if this weren't going to change? What would we do to be a viable business, to provide value, and to not only provide value, but maybe we can even offer greater value. Maybe we can even give more than we were able to give before.
Absolutely.
That's the challenge. And so literally we're in the business right now. Every business, I think, is in the business of going, okay, wait a second. What used to be clumped is we used to provide this. Now we can provide, what needs to be separated out so that they're separate, individual, little areas of value, profit centers, areas of value.
This is excellent. It's an excellent viewpoint. And thank you very much for even illustrating it with your hands, at least.
I went through weeks of training for that because I do my own stunts when I do these.
I can tell. Okay. Tell me, have you spotted like a couple of new trends that are about to become the new norm?
I'd say two things. One is that I think the virtual component of businesses and communications is going to become the norm, right? It's just going to become, jumping on Zoom calls, video chats. I think that's going to become more the norm. And I think the other side of it that complements that is I think people probably had gone on autopilot a little bit on the way that they service clients and customers. And I think that complacency, that bit of autopilot, and that we were taking for granted clients, taking for granted customers. And I think that awareness of how frail that actually is, that is vitally important it's like this stuff is frail. Now imagine if you built an empire on human connection. Now that's different than if you built an empire on, well, we have this channel of distribution and we have this and we have that, which is those are processes. Processes do not replace human contact, and that human connection, nothing can replace that human connection. If you built, and I remember, were you around when Apple first introduced its retail stores?
No, me? No. Yes, I was. Yes.
And the thing with Apple is there were people, because no tech company had ever done that before, right? And so Apple was doing that. And there were all these naysayers going, it's going to fail. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. But Apple they broke the model, right? They didn't have to wait for a pandemic or a crisis to occur. They looked at, what could we do? How can we add another layer of access and humanity? It wasn't just access, but humanity to the relationship. So they built these stores not like a Best Buy, which has product, you know, it's like, right? You have like 50 laptops, and you have 40 washers and dryers, and you have 25 vacuum cleaners and whatever. You know, it's just like, so they instead broke the stores into quadrants. If you're into videos, that's what this part is for. And they not only broke it by interest, but it was clean. It was like a gallery. It was like art. It was incredible. And the people weren't there to pressure you. They were there to help you. So it further amplified the core of Apple's values as a brand. And that's why I say, if you understand branding as the art of differentiation, we covered, if you understand that the relevance of stories, if you understand the need to separate out to be of more service to your clients, then you will get how these things all work together. Because then I think there's actually potentially greater opportunity. Because, like, let's look at this. Here's a crazy idea for the travel and event industry. Right now, this whole insane situation has actually eliminated one variable. Crazy travel times, insane schedules, added time to travel to and from someplace. Those are problems. Those aren't advantages, those are problems. And weather and climate, right? Some people don't like being in hot climates. Some people don't like being in this region. Now we've eliminated all those variables, and now it's like from the convenience of wherever you like, whether it's from your home office, from your actual office, all of a sudden you now have the absolute pleasure and joy for wherever you are. You can attend an event without the added time and without the added expense and without going through security and without baggage and this and that, and you don't even give a shit about what to wear. You don't have to care about what to wear. You could be anything. You could be naked. You could be, right now I could literally be naked from here down.
As long as you don't stand up, okay?
I'm sitting down right now. But the bottom line is, so, all of a sudden I've taken all of these potential things. Now all of a sudden they're benefits, they're assets, right? So, so you could literally have people having more events and better value if you really stepped up your game.
Excellent. Excellent point. Okay, so now tell me, David, I'm a business owner, and I'm pretty, I really have all my business canceled, and I understand I need to do something. Where would I start from right now that I'm working from home and trying to, get my things together?
If you're in the travel and event space, I mean, one is you want to definitely have topics that are of value. So that's one thing. Now, assuming that's in place. Now, if that's not in place, and you're kind of like, well, no, we provide events of all types of topics. Well, then double down, take this time to really find out what's the stuff that's going to benefit you, our potential attendee. I really, really want to know. And you know what? Don't do that via freaking email. Do that. Pick up the phone, speak to people, humanize the experience, humanize the interaction. Take this opportunity to add more humanity and rather than less humanity. I cannot overemphasize how important that is. That is so, so vital. Okay. So that's the first starting point. And then it's a matter of what would be added benefits that a virtual event could possibly provide. Okay. That's another thing. Are there certain perks that you can provide? Are there more giveaways, more certain, instead of going to an event and you walk away with stuff that you have and really blah, 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 which rarely, I mean, for the most part, very few of us, unless it's a book, we rarely will keep it. They'll take that stuff and it'll just end up in the garbage right after. So how do we add more value? It literally is it's the opportunity to reinvent the space. And is it a nuisance? Yes. Is it a pain in the butt? Absolutely. Is it kind of like, ugh? No question. But get the hell on the other side of that and get busy. Right now, you have an opportunity to add more humanity. The old model no longer works. Even if a percentage of it comes back, it doesn't work as being the only answer. You now have the chance to break things out. You now have the chance to go, what can we offer to people? I'd even ask this question. Is there a segment of attendee that previously we weren't able to service that now all of a sudden we can service? I'm sure there is. What about those who can't travel? What about those who hate to travel? What about those who are, let's say, single parents? I can't get away to travel to an event. Okay? All of a sudden, you now have a brand new opportunity to hit on aspects and get, find your niche, find where you can really do it, and then it becomes powerful. Now you have many more opportunities, more access than ever before.
Absolutely. If we go back to your rebranding insights, do you think that the traveling and event company would need to reposition or even rebrand themselves in order to be able to communicate everything you just talked about?
100%.
Or it's just a shift in the way they do things?
100%. No, I think a shift is the lazy way. Oh, let's make some change. Let's make as little change as possible. See, that I think is I think it's totally the wrong mentality. It can't be, fine, we'll make a few changes to sort of, satisfy those who think we should change a little bit. But our heart's not really in it. Then you're going to get, that's a half-ass response, and you're going to get a half-ass result. So you need to really go, wait a second. We need to look at this honestly. We need to look at this realistically. It's like, if this were not going to change, it comes back to what I said earlier. If this were not going to change for the next decade, like this is it. This is your new normal. Right now, what the hell are you going to do? Are you just going to make little baby pivots? Good. Then expect baby results. Ones that need their diapers changed a lot, very often.
Excellent. And one other question that is very much linked also to the destination management, as they call themselves, industry. Do you think that it's possible to even rebrand a city, a destination? I know you've talked in other opportunities about that. Can that happen? And if so, what are the key elements somebody should focus on?
Totally. No, I've actually branded several cities. I mean, the first city that I actually branded, it was very, very interesting because they were looking at the visitor center responsible for the city, which is responsible for tourism. Tourism is very interesting. So let's just break that out. So tourism is what? Tourism generates revenue in terms of what they call heads and beds, right? Hospitality, and you have retail, and you have culture, and you have, for cities that have a historical thing, you have all these different areas that are impacted and that interact and provide value or not. It depends on how they're positioned. And so these guys were doing things just like other cities around them. I literally looked at the destination guides of surrounding cities, and I said, here's 7 or 8. And I put them on the table, and I asked the executive director at the time, I said, so what do you see? She goes, well, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, you know what I see? Would you be interested? And she goes, absolutely. I said, well, I see 8 cities that are using the same types of pictures because they're all from the same region. Same types of pictures, they're all using photographs. None are using maybe even a watercolor. They were not using anything different. They all just plunked their logo at the top. And now they're somehow figuring that that's going to tell a potential visitor, this is why to come to our city. And so, but to me, there was no differentiation. Literally, it's a coin toss, right? So I revamped the entire city. I changed the way that it looked, changed their slogan, changed their color scheme, totally changed the cover, and showed actual, I showed all kinds of visuals and activities that I would want to be interested in engaging in, and even broke it out. It was interesting. I saw that all visitors and tourists were kind of clumped. We talked about sifting things apart. They were all clumped A visitor is a visitor. A tourist is a tourist. And I said, no. I said, you have a bicycle trail, and there are people who come just for the bicycle trail. So there are bicyclists. That's one public. Another public is people who love going to the antique shops. That's another public. People who love going to the restaurants. That's another public. People who enjoy the arts. That's another public. So I broke it out into a whole bunch of different icons in there. So now all of a sudden, where we had this group, almost like a subspecies of human, there's the tourists. Oh, they all look the same. They smell the same. They have the same hair color or whatever, right? You go, no. They're different. What about the ladies' night out? What about, are there families, or are they just going out to like hang and do whatever? So so I broke it all out. Anyway, the thing that happened as a result of doing that whole exercise, they saw a 500% increase in tourism in the next 12 months. 500. And by the way, that was using the same exact channels of communication. There was no new ad campaign that added. No, it was the same. The ad budget didn't change. The destination guide was completely overhauled, but it was putting out a destination guide to replace the old stupid one. And then there were other things that were done. There were posters and different things that added to it to really, but it gave it a visual style and a visual personality. But absolutely, you have to realize a destination. Give me 3, 4, 8, 10 reasons to want to engage there. It's like, why am I going to go there? The only reason that retail, and this is just a corollary, the primary reason that many companies are struggling in the retail space is not because Amazon exists, but because we as retailers stopped providing value that couldn't be provided online. We stopped being engaging. We stopped being passionate about, if it was in a beauty space, it's like, am I like a beauty nut, skincare nut? Or if it's in the music space, am I absolutely impassioned over the music? Or if it's, different types of things. Give me something that I can get in the store that cannot be replaced online. Destinations are created. Destinations don't exist. Destinations are made, just like the vessel. And for those that are unfamiliar with it, the vessel is a structure in an area of New York City called Hudson Yards. And it is amazing, but people go there every day. People take photographs of it, So look up the vessel as an example of, you can convert a location into a destination. The two are not synonymous. Just because you have a location doesn't mean it's a destination. Destination is made. It doesn't exist as a natural course of events.
What would be the 3 points that you want me to retain?
One is take inventory of all the things that you're doing with regard to business. Everything that's on autopilot, and what I mean by that is anything that's on autopilot means we've always done it that way. Put a little star next to. Reevaluate. Is it still valid? Does it still add value? So 1, take inventory. 2, then assess that inventory. Is it still valuable? Is it still valid? Does it need to be changed? Does it need to be overhauled? And then 3, having looked at those 2, I would look at pulling apart the bits and pieces. So you recognize travel is separate. You recognize hospitality is separate, which is the destination location, and you recognize that the events and what they provide are separate. And by separating those out and seeing what can each of those now do that they couldn't do before, you will now see new opportunities. I think that's your 1, 2, 3. That's your holy trifecta for kicking ass going forward.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.